Yeah, Vegas. Woo! Yeah. Man, it is hot. I cannot wait to hit up the sports books here in Las Vegas. I cannot wait to bet on sports and make some money, some cheddar, some G, some dough, some adjective for money. I love watching sports. I watch sports. I know what I'm talking about. I won my fantasy football league a couple years ago. I always win when I make bets with my friends. I consider myself to be very knowledgeable about sports, and therefore, I shouldn't have any trouble winning some money betting on sports while I'm here on my vacation here in Las Vegas. Piece of cake! Can't wait to hit up the sports book and see what I can do. All right, NFL Week 1. The Bucs are going to kill the Cowboys. Dak Prescott won't be ready yet. The Bills and the Steelers, that's going to be a good game, but I think Big Ben's best days are behind him, so Bills. Panthers -4.5 against the Jets. Zach Wilson won't be ready. Panthers. Jaguars and the Texans, both teams are dumpster fires, but the Texans getting 3 against a rookie quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. Texans. 49ers -7.5 against the Lions. They're going to kill the Lions. The Lions are terrible. 49ers. Chiefs -6.5 against the Browns. I could take the Chiefs all the way up to 21. You're watching Sports Betting Truth. Welcome back. And today I'm starting this series I call the Lifecycle of a Sports Bettor, where I go through pretty much just like that, the life cycle of a sports bettor from start to finish, the top of the funnel to the bottom of the funnel, how the average sports bettor progresses in his sports betting journey. That's what this series is about, and today we're going to talk about step 1, where pretty much everybody who bets on sports starts out with, and that is gut betting. Betting with your gut, betting with your instinct. They have a ton of knowledge. They're the smartest guy in the room when it comes to sports, that their knowledge is going to win them money. So why would they need to do anything else? Why would they need to do research or pay a tout or anything like that or build a model? Why? They're the smartest guy in the room. They haven't had to experience losing betting at sports yet. So as far as they're concerned, they're about to hit the sports books and make a ton of money, like I showed in the teaser video. So in the teaser to this video, that was an actual real-life example that I experienced. It was September 7th, 2019, week 2 of the college football season, but it was late. I was at Green Valley Ranch, and it was late. There was like one college football game still going on, Cal and Washington, and it was quiet in there. There's nobody there. It was the calm before the storm, because the next day was opening day of the NFL season, week 1, and if you've ever been to a Las Vegas sports book for NFL, especially week 1, it is a zoo. And so it was the calm before the storm, and it was quiet. You could hear, a pin drop almost, except for the audio for the Cal-Washington game. And then 2 guys, I'm guessing from out of town, came over and sat down by me with a piece of paper that had the NFL odds for the following morning's games on the paper, and they just started going down the list one by one. And I still remember, they're like, the Ravens are going to kill the Dolphins, and they circled the Ravens. The Seahawks are only 9-point favorites over the Bengals, and they circle the Seahawks. Ooh, the Steelers and Patriots, that's going to be a good game, but I have to go with the Steelers in that one, and they circle the Steelers. So there's no research, nothing going into this except for their gut. And when it comes to betting with your gut is the number one way people bet on sports. What their gut instinct tells them. Here's the deal. Most people believe they are experts when it comes to sports. Everybody believes they are the expert because they won their fantasy football league one year, because they just win a lot of side bets with their friends or whatever. But everybody believes, since they are a fan of sports and they watch sports, that they are not only experts at sports, but they can win money betting on sports with simply their knowledge, what they have in their head. It fuels their sports betting fantasies and wishes, hopes, and dreams when it comes to sports betting, believing that they can turn sports betting into some kind of profitable venture. And here's the deal. There's nothing wrong with gut betting. Nothing wrong, especially if you're a rare bettor. Like for me, the only time I would bet in some years after graduating college was my annual trip to Las Vegas. So pretty much one weekend per year I would bet. What's the point in putting effort in research or building a model or anything like that if you're a rare bettor, There's nothing wrong with gut betting in that case. In fact, that's the best way to do it because it's a risk versus reward and it's a time versus cost, like opportunity cost. There's no point in spending all this time researching and building models and stuff if you're just going to be betting for one weekend a year. Gut betting is the best way to go because you're still in short-term territory and the house edge isn't going to manifest itself. You're not betting for a long enough time for the house edge to really manifest itself. So it's going to be a coin flip. That's the way to go if you're a rare bettor or occasional bettor. It's for the same reason I have no problem with people playing table games or slot machines or, blackjack, whatever at the casino, because if you're just here to visit and have a good time, like, why worry about the odds and the math and all of that? You're here to have a good time. And so there's nothing wrong with betting if you're the occasional rare bettor than betting with your gut, because it's really not going to make any a difference. So why not go the easiest route that takes the least amount of your time? Because there's really not much additional benefit to be gained by going a more complex route. So I'm not here to criticize people who bet with their gut because I think it's the ideal way to bet if you're the occasional or rare bettor. However, this video and this channel is geared more towards people who want to profit long term, people who are not the rare or occasional bettors. And in that case, gut betting is probably the worst thing you can do. Actually, it's not the worst, but it's one of the worst things you can do because you're not going to win betting your gut. I don't care what you say. And when I tell people you're not going to win betting your gut, they get very defensive, very defensive. A lot of people swear by their gut and say they profit long-term betting their gut. I saw one guy on a sports betting community, I'm not going to say which one, but he insisted that he grew his bankroll from $100 to $6,000 by simply watching the games and betting on what he thought was going to happen. That's all he did. He was shaming people who said that you have to use a model or have to, have a complex system to win long term. He was telling, no. I grew my bankroll from $100 to $6,000. All I do is watch the games and just bet what I think is going to win. You just have to keep it simple and practice good bankroll management and you'll be able to grow your bankroll. So he's basically saying he grew his bankroll 5,900% by doing nothing but trusting his gut on who he thinks is going to win and watching the games. That's all he did, and he grew his bankroll 5,900%. Wow, that is an incredible return, a 5,900% return. He grew his bankroll 60x by just trusting his gut. No, I don't believe him, and people are calling him out as a liar, and rightly so, but he's getting ultra defensive. But I know a ton of people like that. I'm not that type of guy who goes up to people who are betting on sports and be like, you have to use a model or you're going to lose long term. I'm not like that. I'm a live and let live kind of guy when it comes to sports betting. I give people the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to argue with them or belittle them, especially face to face. I'm not there to be a wet blanket or rain on people's parade. But there are people I've met over the years who insist that they do nothing but bet their gut. Like there's one guy I talked to. He insists that he's a long-term winner, and he's like, yeah, all I do is look at the odds board, and I just find that game or two that's off, and I bet, and I win long term. That's all you have to do. Nothing more complex than that. Just look at the entire odds board. There's always going to be a game or two that's off, and you need to hit that mistake. But here's the deal: how do you know if it's off without any kind of mathematical approach, right? How do you know if a line is off or not? Like that's what I wanted to ask him, but like I said, I'm not a jerk. I'm not like a wet blanket on people. So I just nodded and gave him the benefit of the doubt. But there are people who swear by it. Here's the deal when it comes to sports betting, especially when it comes to winning long term. To win long term, there are 3 obstacles you have to clear to win long term. Number 1 is the odds makers. The odds makers aren't stupid. Odds makers are very smart. They have powerful databases and machine learning algorithms and more resources at their disposal than the average person has. Odds makers are not stupid. It's not like these people are just rolling dice to come up with their lines. It's my favorite thing on Sundays when the upcoming college football lines come out for the games the following week on Sunday. And I just love to watch people's reactions. They're like, this team's only favored by X amount over this team. It's like they're trying to give away free money. It's like odds makers are not stupid. They're not going to put lines out there that don't make sense. Trust me, there's a reason the line is what it is. They're not stupid. But I'm not saying odds makers are flawless. They're not. They make mistakes. They're human. So when those mistakes are made, that's when obstacle number 2 comes into play. The market. The market's going to react and sharpen that line. They're going to fix the odds makers' mistakes. So the combination of odds makers and the market is pretty hard to overcome, especially in high-volume sports like the NFL. Very hard to overcome those 2 things. Markets are sharp and efficient, and odds makers aren't stupid. But say you could overcome those 2 things. There's still a 3rd obstacle you have to clear, and that is the juice. It's not a 50-50 proposition. On a standard minus 110 bet, you have to come out ahead 52.38% of the time to break even. Break even, not profit, break even. To make any kind of real gains, we're talking probably 53%. That's hard, guys. A lot of people think that additional 3% you have to clear to, profit isn't that hard. Because a lot of people, like I said, they think they're experts. They think they're all-knowing. They think they're the smartest guy in the room when it comes to sports. And so when you tell them you just have to hit 53% of the time against the spread, they're going to think, I'm so smart. I hit 65, 70, 75%, 80% against the spread. If you're fortunate enough to be able to overcome the market and the odds makers, that juice is going to grind you down. That's where most people get caught up. And I call those three obstacles, I call it the triumvirate. It's a triumvirate of obstacles you need to clear in order to profit long term, and it's not easy. All three are very formidable opponents. And so let me ask you this question. Do you really think that you're going to overcome the triumvirate with your gut? Do you think your gut or your instinct or your knowledge are going to overcome those three things? You're talking about odds makers with machine learning algorithms and computers and data frames and networks, everything in place to come up with the odds, and markets who are sharpened by millions and millions of people, or I should say millions and millions of dollars, but regardless, those markets are pretty efficient. Like I said, if you asked 100,000 people who they think is going to win a game, more often than not, they're probably going to be pretty close to the actual result. That's the power of the market. The market doesn't lie. And then finally, the juice, that additional 3% you need to clear to profit long term. Do you think you'll be able to overcome that? And I get this comment in every video I talk about this concept, the 52.38 concept, and I'm just going to address this right now. There's no doubt going to be people in the comment section, 52.38% is for side bets, but I only bet plus money. And if you're only betting plus 200 or plus 300 favorites, you only need to win 33% of the time to come out ahead. Guys, it doesn't matter if you're betting plus money or minus 110 sides. It doesn't matter. The house edge is going to be the same. There's still going to be a 4.5% house edge baked into that line, regardless if it's a minus 110 bet or a plus 450 bet or whatever. When it comes to single bets, there is a hard-baked house edge for most casinos at 4.5%. Do the math. If you have a plus 250 underdog and a minus 300 favorite, the sum of those implied probabilities is going to exceed 100%. Meaning that if you were to bet both sides, you would lose the same amount of juice as if you bet both sides on a minus 110 line. So I'm bringing this up now because it gets brought up in every single video I make when I talk about the 52.38% concept and minus 110 line concept. They say it doesn't apply to them because they only bet underdogs at plus money. Yes, it does apply to you. You still have to overcome the same 4.5% obstacle. House edge. Anyway, I digress. I just wanted to point that out because there's no doubt people are going to talk about that. But anyway, I don't care how smart you think you are. Your gut's not going to be able to beat the triumvirate. I'm sorry. I don't care how defensive you get, how you believe you're the exception. Your gut's not going to win long term, guys. But here's the deal. Your gut can be deceiving. Gut betting can't be a fool's gold experience. It was for me. My first 2 trips out here to Las Vegas, I won quite a bit of money betting with my gut. Hitting these 5, 16 parlays and teasers and winning a bunch of side bets and moneyline underdog bets. My first 2 trips out to Las Vegas in my life were very profitable. And it gave me kind of like a false sense of hope, so to speak, that, oh, wow, I'm really good at this. No, it was just short-term variance. I just got lucky both trips. And to this day, the 16 parlay I hit on my first trip to Las Vegas is still the only parlay of 6 or more teams I've ever hit in my life. I don't really bet them anymore. It's been a long time since I bet a parlay, but that was the first and only 16 parlay I ever hit, and it was my first trip to Las Vegas. Beginner's luck, fool's gold, whatever, but gut betting can be very misleading because, like I said, short-term variance. If you're gut betting early in your early sports betting days, you probably haven't been betting long enough for the concept of regression to the mean to kick in yet. So you can have short-term success because the long-term grind has not kicked in yet. You're not in long-term territory yet. It's for that same reason you can go to a craps table or roulette table or blackjack table and have some short-term success when you first sit down at the table. But if you keep playing over time, then eventually the regression to the mean curve is going to be too powerful and you're not going to be able to overcome it. But it doesn't really come into effect at first. But like I said, I get a ton of backlash for pointing this out, that your gut's not going to win you money, but yet it's the most common way for people to bet. So to recap this video, there's nothing wrong with gut betting, especially if you're a rare occasional bettor. I have no problem with it. In fact, I think it's the ideal way to bet because there's no point in wasting time and effort and energy and resources on something you're not going to do very much. However, if you want to be a sports bettor that profits long term, don't do it. Bad idea. There's better ways. So stay tuned for the next video, step 2 in the life cycle of a sports bettor. We're going to talk about manual research. Does manual research improve your odds of winning long term? Does it decrease your odds of winning long term? We'll tune into that video when it comes out to find out. You've been watching Sports Betting Truth. This is your source for actual sports betting advice without the touting, shilling, hype, or false promises. Stay tuned right here to Sports Betting Truth for more sports betting coverage.